This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with the Oompa Loompa on the other side of the table, Dave Oster.
How's it going, everybody?
And for audio listeners, the reason why I said Oompa Loompa is Dave decided in the wheelie chair that we have, the computer chair, he's just going to put it down all the way.
All the way.
He's going to sit to where I have to. This is the first time ever I visibly have had to look down at you.
It's fun being on this side of things, you know? It's just a different perspective. That's what I'm here for.
I can't wait to see.
Because I'm not always on the onside kick.
You're not. You were actually on it 2 weeks ago.
That's true. It was me and Mark.
With the Mark Weber. Now, Mark cannot be here, and he was like, guys, I gotta go. I won't be able to do it. His wife had surgery today, so that's why he's not on the podcast. And actually, he doesn't know that I'm going to do this, so I'm just going to tell you guys, go over to Twitter and just give him some love. Be like, hey, Mark, I hope everything's going okay, and let him know that you're thinking about him, because, of course, Dave and I are thinking about him and his entire family today, why he's not on the podcast. But Dave was gracious enough to say, I got this, guys. I can fill in. I'm a good guy. I got
nothing going on.
Dave definitely is not a heel.
I'm not a heel right now.
Come in here and kind of mess some shit up here.
Maybe I am, though.
Maybe.
But you don't know
you're
yet.
Dean Ambrose. You just haven't turned yet.
Exactly. Get my gas mask out.
You got to get that gas mask. You don't want to get sick.
Exactly.
You don't want these guys getting you all sick and stuff.
God, no.
But we got a jam-packed show on the podcast today. What we are going to do is we got to talk about the Packers, and they fire Mike McCarthy. We had talked about earlier, should they fire him? Well, they did. We're going to talk about who they could get as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Then we're going to take a look at the NFC East. The Eagles are one game out of the NFC East crown. Can they steal that division away from the Cowboys? And then we're going to, before we make our weekly picks, look at the NFL draft. We're going to look at Dave's boy. I am only hyping him up through, vicariously through Dave. But we're going to look at Marquise Lights, Camera, Action Hollywood Brown, because Dave would get mad if I didn't give him his calling card. We're going to look at the best fits for the Sooner wide receiver. But before we get into everything, got to give you the spiel. Patreon.com, that's how you support us. That is how we do everything we want to do, and we do it for you guys, hopefully, wonderfully. You can also tell us that at iTunes and Apple Podcasts. I'm actually going to do the same thing I do for the Primetime Podcast, because we actually had a new rate and review for the Primetime Podcast. For the Onside Kick, did we get one? Scrolling through all of our episodes, and we have not. We're still a 4.5 out of 5, which is good. A lot of 5-star ratings. If you want to go and rate and review us, that would be appreciated as well. And also, mostvaluablepodcast.com. You can catch MVP each and every day. But, Dave, let's jump into the first topic. The Green Bay Packers, they fire Mike McCarthy. And the first thing, before we get into, should they hire a guy for Aaron Rodgers? Who are they going to hire? What was your thought on Sunday when our fantasy football group text kind of blew up that the Packers had fired Mark McCarthy middle of the season, didn't even let him finish out the entire year?
I mean, I thought that was maybe a little bit aggressive of a move, but who knows what was said behind closed doors is my thought. I feel like he's a guy who he's earned his time. I'm one of those people. I'm like, you earned your time. The season's not going to change all of a sudden that you're going to bring in an interim and just let him play out the season. Unless he's going to cause irreparable damage to the players on the team, let him just play out the season. What's the harm? Unless they're trying to get somebody before the season, unless they're trying to start those interview process before the season's over.
Well, get that interest going where it's like, okay, that job is open.
Put your name in the running with the Browns.
Because, because we obviously had the segment, should they fire him?
Yeah.
And it wasn't really for sure if they were going to fire Mike McCarthy. And one of the questions that I've seen kind of thrown around, because my reaction was like, whoa, they actually did it. I can't believe they actually pulled, because I was on the side of, should they? Probably. Will they? Probably not. I was like, they're just going to ride this out. Him and Aaron Rodgers are going to be married together, and their careers are going to mirror one another. Obviously, that's not the case, as the Packers fired him after this loss. I mean,
Yeah.
you lose to the Cardinals. I mean,
It's pretty embarrassing.
it's pretty, like, you lost to Josh Rosen and a guy who probably should be chudded after this year in Steve Wilkes. I honestly believe that because the Cardinals, I mean, they don't have an offensive line. That's kind of a problem. But
yeah,
I mean,
just a slight one.
they're kind of really bad. And,
They're not a good team.
I would not be upset personally. I'm not a Cardinal fan, but I would not be upset if Steve Wilkes was chudded after this year. But the question I've seen thrown around, and I want to get your take, is should Aaron Rodgers even be, should they include him on the process of finding a head coach? Like, the big question is, should he have a big say in who the next coach for the Packers is? Because I'm on the side, no. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Whoever the GM thinks is going to come in and be able to work with you, that should be good enough.
I'm on the other side of this. I think that he should have some say. Big say is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He is
like,
a player
he shouldn't be
on the
able
team.
to one that goes, that's the guy I want.
No, I mean, he can give suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Love to, be like, I'd love to, work with this guy, or I think what he's doing with this offense is real interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But he shouldn't have total say. But like, I would fly it past him. Be like, hey, these are the guys we're looking at hiring. We're gonna do our interviews. We'd love to have you talk to this guy for an hour.
Kind of like what the Bears did with Mitch and Nagy.
Yeah,
Where they kind of
put
just
them
sat in a room, they talked.
I think that is the appropriate amount of involvement for a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers is the Green Bay Packers. He is what he's their franchise. He's what they're doing, and he's their quarterback for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, you want him in the room, and he's a smart guy. He's I think almost everybody agrees, and MVP at least is the best quarterback in the NFL today from a talent standpoint.
Especially Sean. I mean,
Sean
thinks Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT.
Yeah, totally. We can quote you on that one, Sean.
G stands for GOAT. That's what the helmet says.
Absolutely. So, no, I think he deserves, some consideration in the process, but, not like veto rights or like demanding this guy's going to be my head coach. Like, that would be excessive.
Now, I'm going to throw out let's hit the name that everyone's going to throw out and then kind of filter on through.
Absolutely.
The big name there's two names that I'm seeing because let me start this way. There's two categories that the coaches are in. There's two guys who are in the right, and then all the other ones that are in the left. And the two guys that are in the right are guys who are like, these have been head coaches before. One might be an assistant now, but he was a head coach before, where the other ones are like DiFilippo, where it's like, I've never been a head coach, but I've just been an assistant, or kind of like how Sean McVay was when he went to the Los Angeles Rams. The two big names I'm seeing is Josh McDaniels, who head coach of the Broncos, goes back to the Patriots. He's been doing well with the Patriots. And Jim Caldwell, who was the head coach he was with the Colts, he was with the Detroit Lions. Me personally, I'm not sold on Jim Caldwell. I don't know why his name is I get why his name is being thrown in there because he knows the division. He's a competent head coach. It's not like he's Hugh Jackson or Marvin Lewis out there, but I don't know. I don't think he's at the level to be the guy to work with Aaron Rodgers, where Josh McDaniels at least intrigues me because he was a guy that's worked with Tom Brady.
Yep.
Got hired and was going to work with Andrew Luck before declining that job and going back to New England. And he could be a guy that I could see that could at least maybe work with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah. No, I 100% think that Josh McDaniels could do an adequate job. I mean, like, the whole knock against him was obviously his time with the Broncos. But you have to look at that. He didn't
have a quarterback.
Well, that's the thing. You have to have the perspective of, well, he got put into a situation without a guaranteed quarterback. So he was trying to make ends meet with what he had on the table. And obviously things were less than ideal, and they did not work out so great for anybody involved. But, the whole, he's got a bunch of assistant head coaches around the league who'd be happy to, jump ship and come with him if he decided to pull the trigger again on that. So that's nice. And then the fact that, he has had one of the most successful offenses with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL over a long period of time in two different stints. It's very intriguing as a Packers fan, as a Packers player, to want that guy on your side because, like, well, look, he can work with us. He's worked with with anemic offensive systems where it's like you've got such a star at quarterback and you might not have the best talent around him, but you find a way to make that system work for you and work to the best results. So I think from a creativity standpoint, Josh McDaniels is right at the top of that list.
And let's be completely honest. Here's the thing I like to throw out about his Denver days is so he was fired during the 2010 season.
Yep.
That was Tim Tebow's rookie year.
Yep.
So that was the whole, why are you not starting Tim Tebow? All the fans, Tebow time. Tebow time. And he gets fired after, what was it, like a 3-9 start? So he got fired after 12 games, I believe, that year. And it was just a mess in Denver of why he got fired. Never really had that quarterback that was like, this is the guy I can link to. Where in New England, he's working with Tom Brady. He's working with the GOAT.
Tom freaking Brady.
It's kind of hard to not be good when you're working with Tom Brady.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, Tom Brady wasn't, the offensive dynamo that he is today.
True.
When he started his career oh God, what's the
Charlie Weiss?
Charlie Weiss. I was like, what's the old Notre Dame head coach, Charlie Weiss? So no, I mean, like, look, we've seen him evolving into a point of being a better player, but even Tom Brady's talked about how, like, Aaron Rodgers has more talent than I do, but I'm able to do this because of my system, because of the support around me. So it's like, it'd be really interesting to see, what Tom Brady, the whole, like, so I'll be like, what would Aaron Rodgers do on the Patriots? Do you think he'd win 4 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowls? Do you think he'd win 5 out of 8? Like, all that kind of conjecture and talk. I think that Josh McDaniels moving to Green Bay would be a really interesting move. And I think it's got the highest chance of success out of the names I've seen thrown out there, because you've got someone who's been in the business for a decade plus. He's had some head coaching experience, so he knows sort of what to expect. He's got contacts around the league. It just sort of all lines up for he should be a successful head coach somewhere. It's just, does he want to play the waiting game for that Patriots position?
Do you think it matters whether it's I'll throw 2 names out there, but it's not really about the names, it's about who they are.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Josh McDaniels, a guy who can come into that room and him and Aaron Rodgers can kind of talk as equals. Yeah. Where it's basically, one's not going to be dominant over the other, whereas you could get a guy like John DeFilippo, where, of course, personality could play into it as well. Yep. But it could be like hey, this is my first head coaching job, quarterback a little bit more dominant over me, because I don't really know. Like, I haven't really had this job yet, which, like, I'm going to compare it to the Bears, and I know Packer fans are going to say, why would you do that? But, like, Matt Nagy didn't really have to deal with that because Mitch was only in his second year. Yeah. So they're kind of
and he looked terrible his first year. So.
And they're kind of on the same playing field, where do you bring in, like, a guy like John DeFilippo, a guy that has never been a head coach, could that be a negative because Aaron Rodgers would be seen as the dominant figure in that locker room, in those quarterback rooms?
It could be, but I think it's very much how the relationship plays out, because Aaron Rodgers, has sort of gained the reputation for being, a bad guy to coach.
A prima
donna, not very easy to coach, not easy to work with, but he didn't always start that way. That's the thing, is I think over time he's evolved and his relationship has soured. So if you get a fresh start with a guy like John DeFilippo or one of these other first-time head coaches, I think that Aaron Rodgers can take it back down to a point of like, hey, we're both here to do the same thing. I want you to put me in the best position to win games. That's all I ask. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is at the point in his career where he's mature enough and he knows. I think it just got to the point at the end with McCarthy where I was just like, look, I don't respect you. I don't agree with you.
We don't win with you.
We don't win with you. And I'm going to make that very publicly known. So I think that just was a poison relationship. So I don't think I think there's the chance that it goes wrong because of ego, but I think that's a knock against where Aaron Rodgers is and all of the work he's put in, up to this point.
You know who'd be an interesting one? I don't think he'd even be interviewed because there was news that there's only one job that he would want, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Correct. Bruce Arians, to me, is a guy where I look at it and I go, you want a guy in his coaching career when he took over for Chuck Pagano, when Chucky was fighting cancer. He was 9-3 with Andrew Luck. Yeah. Then he goes to Arizona. I know Bear fans are going to be like, oh, we should have maybe hired him. That's the big thing that I always hear about 2013.
Yep. Thanks, John Fox.
But with Carson Palmer, 10-6, 11-5, 13-3 in his first years with the Cardinals, 2016 and 2017. 2016 was the very end to the Carson Palmer days. But the first 3 with Carson, and I know that 2014 year, Carson only started 6 games. He had a fairly good record, and really that 2015 year was one game from the Super Bowl. I believe that was that the year you and I went to visit Johnny in Tennessee and they played the Packers in the playoffs and beat them in overtime?
Maybe.
Because that's another thing that Bruce Arians has
lost track
played
of time.
Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs and beat him in Arizona. But that year they lose. Actually, both years he made the playoffs. He lost to Carolina and Riverboat Ron. He's one that I see on lists and I go, he'd be interesting, but I don't think he'd be one that would even be interviewed because I don't think he'd want to.
The fact that he's literally just been on TV to say I'm really interested in the Browns coaching position,
and
like
the Browns
different times,
and the Browns do nothing.
Well, they got no need to do anything right now. They just let the season play out. But no, he would be interesting. I don't know necessarily he'd be a great fit for this team just from his past experience. Like I may be lower on him than a lot of people. I'm not super enthused. The work that he did with the quarterback for the Cardinals at the time,
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer. Like the work he did there, I don't see that translating A to A. Like they're not. Carson Palmer and Aaron Rodgers are different quarterbacks with different skill sets.
Well,
and if he tried to run
a lot better, Carson Palmer was also at the very end of his career.
Well, the question is if he tried to run a similar system, what we've seen out of him, and that's really what you have to do with a lot of these guys is you have to extrapolate. Like, okay, this is how they ran their offense or defense given the coordinator. And this is, kind of the results. So you have to imagine, like, how would that kind of a scheme fit in here if you plug and play? And Bruce Arians, I don't really think that would fit well.
I think the only sample size we could see with that is the Indiana sample size.
Yeah.
And the question with that is, at that point, how much of that was his system or him using Chuck Pagano's system?
It was really...
because he was taking over. But, like, Andrew Luck, similar skill sets to Aaron Rodgers, is mobile. Aaron Rodgers is also a little mobile.
Yeah.
You've got both of them have big arms, can throw it down the field. Both of them really good quarterbacks. The name that I hate that's being mentioned is Lincoln Riley. Like, I hate, like, every time there's a head coach, it's like, he's going to be the next one. Guys, he's not leaving Oklahoma
He's happy at Oklahoma?
As long as they're winning. As long as he's winning at Oklahoma, he's got no reason to leave.
Not going to take a big paycheck and... go up to the big boys.
The thing with college, and you even thrown this out too, and you can use this, the fans for sure, but you can use it with players and coaches. There's more of a connection. There's more of that, like, I'm connected to this team, to this lifeblood, to this fan base.
College is a different, it's a different experience than the NFL, especially in sports. Like, when you're a professional athlete playing on a team, yes, you care about the team to an extent, but like you're not as invested in that team as you were like when you went to college and you put in, a year plus with a college and you got to know them, you got to know the environment, you got to know the people. Like there's so much more to the college experience. Like there are rare instances where it's different. Like obviously, like I revert to the NFL or to the NBA, so it's like the Lakers during like the Kobe days, like. The Lakers meant everything to Kobe, but Kobe also didn't go to college. So like that was his like kind of drawn out experience. So I think that Lincoln Riley has something special at Oklahoma. And I think that the job security and the success he's had there, if I were him or if I were in his shoes, I would say to stay. I think that is, you got something special,
and plus,
keep building it. And
they just won. They're like the only team in the Power 5 to win their conference championship 4 years in a row.
Right. Now. He's got something special going. He's obviously got the, he's got the blueprint.
Yeah.
And why would you change it up? Like Pete Carroll left under auspicious circumstances. He's done a great job in the NFL since coming. Obviously, with that.
Well, and he wanted to avoid the sanctions.
That would be the
too. Yeah.
That would be the auspicious circumstances I was mentioning. That's what those means we're referencing.
Really big word, Dave.
I'm sorry. I should break it down for y'all. But no, like he had that ridiculous turnover of gutting the Seahawks roster in a couple of years so quickly, and then just success. So, Lincoln Riley, the only job I see him going for is a young team, like the Browns. I don't think if he were to leave, I don't think it'd be for a veteran heavy team or a veteran led team like the Green Bay Packers.
Or if it's like a Browns team where it's like, hey, I know Baker. Like I can work with Baker.
Well, absolutely.
And that's mainly the Browns job was the only job where I'm like, okay, you can bring him up, but he's still not leaving Oklahoma.
I don't see him leaving. Yeah.
If you would have asked me today, as we're recording this on Tuesday, if you would have asked me when I woke up and got out of bed, Jim Harbaugh would have definitely been on this list.
Really?
But now that Urban Meyer has retired from OU,
he's got to win.
Jim Harbaugh's sitting there going, I can win.
This is his chance.
I can beat Ryan O'Day. I can beat Ryan Day. I can beat him. I can't beat Urban Meyer. So I've kind of taken Jim Harbaugh and pushed him to the side. The other two that I just would throw out there is the two kind of young pups, I'm going to call them.
Sure.
In John DeFilippo.
Yep.
We thought he was going to get a head coaching job last year. Like, I remember Mark and I had a segment where we talked about would he be the right fit for the Bears and a fit with Mitch Trubisky after he had won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the guy that Mark on the podcast has said that this guy is going to be, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be the next Sean McVay, and that's Matt LaFleur. He was a guy that was the OC under McVay his first year in the Rams. He's now the OC under Mike Vrabel with the Tennessee Titans. Mark is always, whenever we talk about coaching, Mark's like, this guy's going to get a job sooner rather than later. My biggest debate with these two is, do you want a guy who's never been a head coach to be Aaron Rodgers' head coach late in Aaron Rodgers' career?
I think DeFilippo is the better out of those two candidates. Obviously, the success of the Titans offense. Obviously, we know the issues with Marcus Mariota and his medical issues, and that's a struggle, but they don't have a balanced plan. It seems at times like that offense gets stuck, mud in the tire style, and they just can't get rolling. They have trouble building momentum. Some questionable plays from my point of view on third downs. And I don't know. I feel like they've got some awesome weapons down there, and obviously Corey Davis is like one of the ones where it's just like, just throw it in his direction. The man's gifted, and they don't utilize him, and it's just like, okay. So if you got a weapon and you're not utilizing him, that sort of raises a flag with me. Obviously, asterisk that with Mariota's situation. So I'm like, all right, I'm not in love with him, but DeFilippo is someone who obviously he spent the time in Philly as QB coach, moved over to the Vikings. They've had some success, and he's looked pretty good. But, like, do you think that he's a guy who is ready to make the jump again to run his own team? Because I feel like he needs a little more time mastering his offense, because obviously this Vikings team, you're the expert on them, so I would love to hear your opinion on him. It
depends, because to me, and this has Eagle fans, if you're listening, don't get too upset with me.
Yeah.
I think that with, like, of course, when you're an OC, you're going to learn from your head coach. I'm not saying that Doug Peterson didn't teach him anything, but for me, I think that he's going to learn a lot more about how to be an effective head coach from Mike Zimmer compared to Doug Peterson. Like, in the Eagles right now, we're going to talk about them next, we're kind of seeing that, oh, all right, Doug, it wasn't you. It wasn't you that was the masterpiece to this offense. I'm assuming it's Frank Reich, because the Colts have looked great.
I was going to say,
year.
the Colts have really turned it on.
DeFilippo, I want to give kind of like an asterisk to, because like Frank Reich had an easy job. He's working with Andrew Luck. Like DeFilippo,
but he's working there rehabbing Andrew Luck,
which is still a lot better than a Kirk Cousins. Where
Kirk Cousins has arm talent.
Kirk Cousins has looked good. I defend Kirk Cousins when everyone, like Colin Cowherd, tells me that he's bad. I know, and it's like, all right, they're working together for the first time. This is the first time that Kirk Cousins has had talent around him.
Yeah,
and I mean, we lost to a talented New England team. There might have been some shenanigans with, I think it was Patrick Chung late in that game, but I love Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen's going to break a record, isn't he?
Yeah, he already did.
Harry did.
The
100-yard game
10,
consecutive.
Yeah, and then the 10,000 yards. He broke Randy Moss's record.
Yeah.
Team record, I believe, already. For me, I think it's DeFilippo will be a good head coach after he has learned everything he is going to learn from Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer to me has been like an enigma. Like when he was the assistant coming over to the Vikings, I was like, well, I don't know what to expect here.
Yeah.
And it's been like, holy crap, this guy's like a competent head coach. Like,
yeah, Zimzam's been pretty good.
He's just got the Zimzam.
I like calling him Zimzam. Like, that's just me.
He's like the guy that is just like I don't want to say the perfect head coach because he isn't like Belichick,
right.
but it's like he knows what to do and how to command from his team and get every ounce of talent. I
completely agree. There is an eerie calmness to him, and then when he gets upset, like the team reacts to it, and I think that's fantastic because you see the sideline cuts in some games of like different head coaches, and like when Zimmer gets like visibly upset and starts yelling, it's like that sideline,
especially that defense
tightens.
comes to life.
They do.
They come to life.
They tighten up. So I think that's pretty awesome.
And that's another thing. Which one of these coaches is going to... I think the big thing is which one of these coaches is going to get that kind of a reaction and mesh with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Last thing I want to throw out here, and this is me kind of trolling Packer fans.
Oh, sure.
But I'm going to do it. I thought in my car today on the way home from work.
Yeah.
Why not draft a guy like Will Grier?
Oh, you're an asshole.
And I'm not saying draft him to, he's the starter next year, but just take... I haven't had the time to go through this in my head. I'm going through it now on the podcast. Think about this. When Mike McCarthy got the job with the Packers, Aaron Rodgers was a young pup. He was sophomore year in the NFL.
Yep.
Was drafted 2005. Mike McCarthy
still riding
came
that
in
pine pony
in 2006. Brett Favre at the time, if we go back 13 years, that was 2005, 13 years ago, Brett Favre would be the magical age of 36 years old.
Yeah.
Right now, Aaron Rodgers is 35 years old. Right around that same number.
I see what you're doing.
I'm not saying he's only got 2 years left with the Packers, but if you bring a guy in and you're figuring out, hey, Aaron Rodgers, this might not work long term. This is a topic for another day, a troll topic.
Yeah.
Will Aaron Rodgers retire a Green Bay Packer? I don't think it would be out of the question to if you bring in like a DeFilippo and Matt LaFleur, bring in a guy like Will Grier, who you can kind of mold while working with Aaron Rodgers as your starting quarterback in case it doesn't work out. Because if it doesn't work out with a new head coach, you're not going to fire the new head coach. You're going to get a new quarterback. That's what I'm thinking.
I think you're being crazy. And
drinking that crazy juice.
You need to wait about a year or two because if you remember right, that Brett Favre guy, he played pretty good at 40 for you, didn't he?
Dude, he played really good.
He played incredibly well.
He was one bounty gate away from another Super Bowl.
And Aaron Rodgers, I will admit, is a talented SOB. So I would not be ready to move on.
Is he Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I would give it 2 more years before I draft a guy that I'm seriously concerned. The problem is you need someone because Aaron Rodgers gets hurt.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only case, and you didn't make that case,
whereas
but I'll say it.
Was an Iron Man.
Brett Favre's the Iron Man. Brett Favre never gets hurt, except when he got murdered.
Yeah, by Bounty Gate.
Yeah, literally murdered on the field.
And then the Bears murdered him more because the Saints murdered him in the first place.
I believe that was Wooten who took him down.
Yeah, and then just stood over him.
My guy, the only one that I've actually liked, and this is a guy who I actually tossed out for the Bears head coaching job before Nagy, is Pete Carmichael Jr. on the Saints. He's their OC. Obviously, we all know who wears the pants in that relationship on the Saints, but you've got
Drew Brees?
They've got a head coach who's been play calling for that team for the last decade.
True.
Come on. So look, Pete Carmichael Jr. came up basically like his whole career in that Saints org, and I absolutely love what he could have. What I'm assuming he's absorbed and helped build on is that Saints offense. Look at what they've done in the last 5 years, changing the way they play, changing the way Drew Brees is effective on the field. And I think that is someone who has a great offensive potential. And I think that he can bring that to the Packers and solve problem number 1, which is horrible play calling. Horrible play calling. So I think he's the guy who has all of the right, bits around him. He's been around a great head coach. He's been around an aging quarterback and evolving the offense every year to better fit the talent on the team. That offense hasn't been the same 1 year to the next. He's made it work with, you remember how many like late round receivers the Saints have had that have put out great seasons? Remember all these like diamond in the rough kind of players that make that team run. So that's why I go Pete Carmichael Jr. as my long shot dark horse, whatever you want to call it, for that Packers job.
So, you want to know what's funny about Pete Carmichael Jr.?
Sure.
Do you know how long he's been working with Drew Brees?
How long?
Since Drew Brees has been in the league.
I say, because he was a QB coach with him, right?
Well, here's how it went. Drew Brees' first year we were 11 years old, 2001.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
The Chargers.
Carmichael Jr. was with the Redskins as an offensive assistant and a quality coach. The next year, 2002, he's with the Chargers, that same job for 2 years.
Yep.
Then in 04-05, he wide receivers coach and a quality coach, but still a coach on that Chargers staff. Drew Brees ends his career with the Chargers in 05.
Yeah.
06 goes to the Saints. Who becomes the quarterback coach for the Saints in 06? Carmichael Jr.
Yep.
Then he's the passing game coach for 2 more years after that, and then he's the OC from 09. So he's working with...
That's what I'm saying.
If he can work with... So what you're saying is, if he can work with Drew Brees this long, he can work with Aaron Rodgers.
And think about how well Drew Brees has continued to play as an aging quarterback.
After that injury, too. Everyone thought he's done. He was done in the league, not going to do anything, and then he resurrected his career and now owns all the passing statistics that any quarterback could dream to have.
And he owns
in the
New
NFL.
Orleans fans' hearts.
And he owns New Orleans fans' hearts for getting them that Super Bowl.
Pete Carmichael Jr., I think there's a guy with the right experience to take a head coaching job on.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Lengthy segment for talking some head coaching. What do you guys think? Should the Packers, first off, should they hire the guy for Aaron Rodgers? Who will that be? Who do you want them to hire? Who don't you want them to hire? Let us know what you guys are thinking down below in that comment section.